Hi, before getting into the details of blockchain, let us learn about what are the different eras that the web world has gone through. So let us dive into the evolution of web. Can say the web world has gone through three different eras, and right now we are in web 3.0. That is, the first one is web 1.0 and the next one is web 2.0, and right now we are in web 3.0. So let us see where the applications have been developed, or what were the applications that being used in web 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0. So web 1.0 is basically it's a read only era where say for example you have a website and you just visit a website and the company will publish some information and that information will be read. So it is something like a book, right? So you just take a book and you will read the content from the book, and whatever the author has written you will be going through that content. So web 1.0 is basically a read only. So the era lasted from 1990s to 2004. The user or any person who wants the information will be getting the information what is available in the server. So web 1.0 basically will have a server from which all the contents will be delivered. The designated contents will be delivered to the consumers, or basically all the users were only consumers of the information. So it is basically created in the year 1989 by Tim Berners-Lee, and you will have only static website content and the information will be delivered as such. So the basic idea is just to deliver the information. Only a centralized infrastructure which is governed by the organization. It could be an organization which is responsible for delivering the content. So when you look at the technical stack or technology stack of Web 1.0, the browser is the basic tool using which any user will be accessing the content. Through internet, the user will be able to connect to any machine in the world, and that machine will be called as a web server which contains a static content. That is, it will have HTML, CSS and JavaScript pages, or web pages which are made up of HTML and CSS and some of the JavaScript. And this content will be delivered to the browser, and in turn the user will be able to see the information from the browser. The next one is Web 2.0, where we will be able to do both read and write. So the users were using this since 2004 and even till now. The users, they communicate with the server either to fetch the information or to input the information. So the information will get stored in the server and it might be consumed by some other user. So which means that any user can be a producer and also they can be the consumer. That is Web 2.0. This term is coined by Tim O'Reilly in 2004, where this era concentrated on delivering dynamic content based on the user's input. Say for example, let us take our bank account. You give your account number and password, and the details what is getting displayed on the screen is your account detail. And a similar example is Gmail. So where in Web 2.0 we got a lot of web applications being developed. So all the social network sites like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, everything, even YouTube. So everything has got some content created by the users. And also the user were able to monetize their content as well. You will have the cloud utility infrastructure which came into existence, where you will not have only one server, where you might have a group of servers working together, and also you get the benefit of pay as you go. that is software as a service. Even without installing the software, you'll be able to use a software. For example, Google Spreadsheet or Google Doc, where you will be able to utilize the benefit of an application without installing the application. And even without, you don't want to own a server, you can just get a cloud server and get the application deployed in the server, and finally you're ready to go, where you can just launch a website. So all the cloud utility infrastructure came into existence in Web 2.0. And also the basic database structure, it was all completely relational database. So relational database driven content, and also the application is completely browser based, and also the database will be there on the server, and the server will access the database, the content from the database will be delivered. A typical example, as I said earlier, for the account, all the details of a user transactions will be stored in a database, and that content will be delivered by the server, that is the web server, to the user, and finally in turn the user will be able to see the balance. When you come to the technology part, the user will still access the application using the browser, and through the internet they can connect with any web server or the web server in any part of the world. And the front end is developed using JavaScript, HTML and CSS still, but there will be some kind of server-side script which is written, or a program which will run, or which will connect with the database, grab the content and put that into, or compile that into a particular web page, and that particular script will be responsible for actually generating a new web page, and that web page will get delivered to the user in the browser, and the user will be able to see as though it is something like a normal website. So here we have a program which runs in the background, which will go for generating the content dynamically. That is why it is called as dynamic web applications. And still you have connectivity with the database, and all the works can be done. A typical software works, how a standalone software works, everything could be done using the same server-side scripting languages. So this is how we could differentiate a static and a dynamic web page. Let us take the dynamic web page. You will have some content which is pre-existent, that is the HTML content itself, which is pre-existing, and that particular content will be delivered to the browser, or we can say it will be sent as a file to the browser. But whereas in the place of dynamic web pages, the server should build a new web page. So the web server will be building a new web page, which means that it will be running the server side script, and the script is responsible for generating the HTML and CSS content. And what those server side script will do is, it will be connecting with the database as well. And once that database is connected and the contents are being received from the database, and the final HTML page will be rendered, and it will be sent back as a regular file. So when you consider here a static web page and a dynamic web page, the final outcome is same. You will have the same file sent to the browser. So the browser will not know whether that file is a pre-existing file or whether that file is generated dynamically. So as far as the users are concerned, they are viewing only the HTML page. But how the page is retrieved makes the major difference between static and dynamic web pages. If it is static, already existing content will be retrieved as a file and it will be sent as such. But when you consider dynamic web page, the new page will be created, and all the data that is getting manipulated on the page will be fetched from the database, and finally the final file will be generated, and this file will be sent to the browser. So there's a large difference between Web 1.0 and Web 2.0. In Web 1.0, the content is only static. You don't have server-side scripting at all. But in Web 2.0, you had server-side scripting where we were able to develop some of the applications. Having understood the static and dynamic web page and Web 1.0 and Web 2.0, let us see about what Web 3.0 is.